各位贵宾、各位与会的嘉宾，欢迎各位莅临2025国际水周国际论坛水领袖峰会，非常荣幸今天有这么多的贵宾还有专家先进齐聚一堂。我是今天的司仪 Grace 黄志杰，首先对各位的参与表示热烈的欢迎，还有衷心的感谢。Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2025 Taiwan International Water Week Water Leaders Summit. It's an honor to be gathered here with so many experts and leaders for this international forum. My name is Grace Huang, and it is a pleasure to be your MC today. Thank you for being a part of this meaningful event. 我们在今天论坛一开始，首先为各位介绍我们今天出席的与会贵宾，稍后也请唱名道的贵宾起身，跟我们今天的与会来宾挥手致意。So to begin with, I'd like to introduce the guests of honor that have joined us today. When your name is called, please stand and wave to all the participants today. 首先，非常欢迎经济部赖建信次长 ，Vice Minister of the Ministry of Economic Affairs 赖建信。也非常欢迎国际水协会执行董事 Kalanithi Vararamorthy, Executive Director of International Water Association. A warm welcome. 国立成功大学沈梦如校长暨讲座教授 President and Chair Professor of National Cheng Kung University, Dr. 沈梦如。Alright, I think he will be joining us later. 我们待会呢会再加入我们美商超微半导体股份有限公司台湾分公司资深业务副总经理林建成 ，Senior Sales Director of Commercial Sales AMD Taiwan, Mr. Ken Lin。荷兰在台办事处马德斯副代表 Deputy Representative of the Netherlands Office Taipei, Matthias van der Hoorn， 非常欢迎。荷兰台尔夫特联合国教科文组织 IHE 水教育学院副教授 Zoran Vojinovic, Associate Professor of IHE Delft, Netherlands. A warm welcome. 立陶宛水文气象局 Richardas Valančiauskas 局长 Director of Lithuanian Hydrometeorological Service. Welcome. 德国汉堡科技大学正教授 Peter Friller, for Professor of Hydraulic Engineering, Hamburg University of Technology. 经济部水利署林元鹏署长 Director General 林元鹏 of the Water Resources Agency, MOEA. 财团法人中兴工程顾问社李俊毅董事长 Chairperson 李俊毅 of Sinotech Engineering Consultants. 余纪中文教基金会余范英董事长 Chairperson of 余纪中 Cultural and Education Foundation, Madame 余范英。台湾营建研究院丁澈士董事长 Chairperson of the Taiwan Construction Research Institute, 丁澈士。日本土木学会会长池内信司 Japan Society of Civil Engineers President Koji Ikeuchi. A warm welcome. 公益财团法人河川整备研究所执行長内藤正彦 ，Executive Director of Japan Riverfront Research Center Masahiko Naito. A warm welcome. MS Water Consult 总裁 President Miguel Angel Sanz of IDRA. Okay, I think he will be joining us in a little bit. 他应该是稍后加入我们的行列。同时也欢迎西班牙商务办事处商务组长黎丽云 Victoria Lee of Spanish Chamber of Commerce. A warm welcome. 今天有非常多的贵宾哦，一起莅临共襄盛举。因为时间的关系，没有办法为各位一一介绍，但是还是表达我们诚挚的欢迎。We have many guests here today who we do not have the time to name one by one, but still a warm welcome to you all. 好，我们今天呢论坛一开始，首先有请经济部赖建信次长来为我们致开幕词。To kick off, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Vice Minister 赖建信 of the Ministry of Economic Affairs to give us the opening remarks. Please give him a warm welcome.
Of Water Resources Agency and Deputy Representative Majis Netherlands office, Taipei, and Chairman Li of 中新社, and Chairman Yu of 余继忠文教基金会, and Chairman Ding of 台湾营建研究院的董事长, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my honor to join you all at the 2025 Taiwan International Forums. On behalf of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to everyone for your support and participations. We know that water is a crucial element for the human beings. The water benefit to the life. The water benefit to economic development as well. When we take advantage of the water, we should not forget to treat the water as well. We should not forget the power of the water. Recently, it's rainy days in Taipei. Some of the Taiwanese think about what's going on. So many rainy days in the winter time. But indeed, in the past, for the elder individual know that there always have rainy days in the winter times. But for the past, we experienced drought. We forgot the situation of that. In the era of the intensified climate events, the effective water management does not only require the professional expertise that build over time, but also relies on the adaptive policy for that response the environment change. The Taiwan, we know that we have the powerful capacity of semiconductor manufacturing. We also have a good capacity for the AI computing. We know that the AI enhance the prediction of the rainfalls. So the AI will enhance the allocation of the water management and even to make the safety and the security for the infrastructures. So this time, the themes of this year's forum, we focus on how to apply AI technology to the water management. To grab such a wonderful chance of Taiwan, the Ministry of Economic Affairs raised a bold view and a master plan to lead the Taiwanese company across every aspect to make a transition for our society. So we do know that the integration of the AI into the water management will benefit each other, to benefit the security of Taiwan. The Ministry of Economic Affairs to support the WRA can focus such kind of opportunity and can keep on the path to conquer the challenge of the climate change, such as a smart water management, resilient water environment of that. And again, I will thank all of you can join this morning to make these dreams come true. And I think that through the discussion of the forum, that could be generate a constructive result for the better of the Taiwan. Finally, I will wish all of you will be good health and good success for this event. Thank you, everybody.
谢谢，非常谢谢赖次长。
Thank you, Deputy Minister Lai.
非常的重视哦 ，Thank you once again to the Vice Minister。紧接着，让我们来欢迎荷兰在台办事处马德斯副代表来为我们说几句话。And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Deputy Representative Mr. Matthijs van der Hoorn from the Netherlands office, Taipei, to say a few words. Please give him a warm welcome.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Thank you very much. Vice Minister Lai, Dr. General Lin, Professor Kala, distinguished guest, ni hao. Ni hao. It's truly a pleasure for me to join you here today for the Smart Watershed and AI-Driven Innovation Summit here during the Taiwan International Water Week. On behalf of the Netherlands office Taipei, I'm really honored to take place and to be part of this important discussion. I think it is important that we talk about how artificial intelligence and smart technologies are transforming the way we manage water. And water is and remains one of the most essential resources for our shared future. Both the Netherlands and Taiwan, water is part of our identity. You might know that the Netherlands, 2/3 of the Netherlands is below sea level, and as we have experienced, I think last week, Taiwan has a lot of water as well, and we need to it needs to be channeled out. So we both have water as part of our identity. And I think that's also makes us natural partners. I think we are two societies shaped by our relationship with water. So we have to think how we manage floods, safeguard our coastlines, secure clean water for our people and industries. And this shared challenge has been the foundation of the Taiwan-Netherlands water dialogue, which has really truly become an annual platform for knowledge exchange, policy learning, and collaboration. Since our first dialogue in 2020, we have seen remarkable progress. Dutch and Taiwanese experts have worked together on projects ranging from flood simulation, river transformation, nature-based solutions, and reservoir management. And through these partnerships, we have learned that the best results come when we combine engineering expertise, local knowledge, and now, increasingly, artificial intelligence and the power of data. Today's theme, AI-driven innovation, represents the next frontier in our collaboration. In the Netherlands, we are using AI for predictive flood modeling, real-time water quality monitoring, and infrastructure optimization. In Taiwan, artificial intelligence is used and applied to watershed management, the topic of today, flood warning systems, and smart decisions for climate adoption. Together, and I truly mean together, we can combine these strengths, linking Dutch experience in integrated water systems with Taiwanese excellence in digital innovation. I believe that working together can build a future where artificial intelligence can help us understand, predict and manage water systems in a more intelligent and sustainable way. Not only for our countries, but also for communities across Asia and in the entire world. So let me close off by expressing my appreciation for Vice Minister Lai. You have really been the driving force between the Netherlands-Taiwan Water Corporation from your previous position as Director General of the Water Resource Agency and now as Vice Minister. And I hope we can cooperate and collaborate for a long time. Thank you very much for that. But thank you to everyone here today, for the Water Research Agency, of course, and everybody who's making this conference here today happening. Thank you very much. And just know from our side, the Netherlands remains deeply committed to supporting Taiwan in advancing smart, resilient and sustainable water management. Thank you.
谢谢，非常谢谢马德斯副代表。Thank you once again to Mr. Matthijs van der Hoorn。也非常期待台湾跟荷兰之间有更进一步的水利方面的交流还有合作。那接下来呢，我们要邀请的是财团法人中兴工程顾问社李俊毅董事长来为我们致辞。And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chairperson Li Junyi from Sinotech Engineering Consultants to give us a few words.
OK， 我比较习惯这样子啊，习惯这样子啊。
Used to do in this way. I really want to thank the invitation from Deputy Minister Lai. I was like you, I just registered this forum, but I was just asked to give some remarks, as I know that my remark cannot be very lengthy. Otherwise, it should be, different roles. So I will restrain myself to make it short. I would go through three aspects to appreciate, recognize today's forum. First of all, I am part of Taiwan. I live in Taiwan, and this year, maybe I was honored to be a 50% discount by the benefit welfare, social welfare. Because I'm a senior citizen right now, as I observe the government sector lead the team in the country and collaborate with many friends and experts from abroad and leaders from every sector to cope with extreme climate change regarding the impact of Taiwan. Because the damage is when they have the damage doesn't differentiate or discriminate your role, your occupation, your level. There was a survey here in Taiwan that was by 2030 or by 2050, and so here in Taiwan's natural disaster damage will reach more than 1 trillion damage, and so the other similar is like in United Nations on top of the Deloitte survey here in Taiwan to cope and meditate the climate change was touched by. I was very touched and appreciated. So as the citizen, I really have a highest recognition to the government's endeavors. Secondly, I used to serve the parliament, the legislative yuan here in Taiwan as a policy maker and budget reviewer, I would like to recognize everybody's efforts here in Taiwan. I want to give you confidence that here in Taiwan, regardless of the political turmoil, I think with regard to this challenge from Mother Nature is really overpass the partisan issues. I want to give you one example to share with you. To cope with the extreme climate change, this is not something that the exclusive privilege from the Democratic Progressive Party. Since a long time ago, when the KMT was in reign, it was applied all the time, from the guideline, from the action plans, all the way to the mitigation policy. It overpass the political regimes. So with that, we also experience many political, from the administrative sector and political parties, either the dominate, who is the dominant, but we never reduce the strength, and instead we have input more and more endeavors. This year, it is the third stage of the action plan. We're about to enter stage 4 of the action plan. Budget is one issue, but from the information release from the legislative, the administrative yuan is like 400 to millions. It is not a big budget, but we are reviewing stage 4, so we hope that our friends from abroad and also the local sector can join together to cope with climate change here in Taiwan, to take the actions, and also hope that so we can go to establish a nationwide successful case. This is my hope, and I want to say this is has no political interruptions. Thirdly, I want to use Sinotech as the chairman of Sinotech. As a leader, I want to claim that there's a role that the Sinotech is a national conglomerate. It belongs to the government as the engineer team, national engineering team. So while we cope with climate change, so this is the elite. This is the partner. So that's the value of Sinotech. So I have pledged that since I was inaugurated, I pledged that we have several roles. First of all, we will go to the place where the country needs us. Now Taiwan needs to cope with the climate change. Then Sinotech will go there as the country needs us. So please trust us and believe us. Although one of the chairman from the past to serve Sinotech, but the role of Sinotech never changed. Secondly, to implement the comprehensive AI. Why is that? Here in Taiwan nowadays, we also follow the step of the global collaboration to try to cope with it. So with regard to the talent nurturing, we also need to apply the strengths of Taiwan, that is the technology, to cope with the climate change. So the implementation is on our resilience, that is to cope with the climate change and the resilience, to make it AI oriented. So Sinotech has received national recognition, over 7 times innovation award from the country. I'm not very happy, satisfied with that. I hope this will be that all 6 overall AI-driven innovation to the whole watershed. The Maotaian incident told us a big lesson. So it was segmented. So the whole watershed, as well as the damage control That is prediction. We have some gaps there, and how to integrate the system. I want to engage that. We lack many. I mean, here in Taiwan, we have very low birth rate. We need more talent and manpower. We need the intelligence and the technology support. So overall, Sinotech is moving toward this direction. Then when the government needs us, we'll go there. Go to the place where government needs us. We will play a role as the national engineering team. And it is also an AI-driven national team. Our capacity will be built further. And so please give us any advice and comment. We welcome you to use the highest standard to review us whether we have fulfilled our duty. I'm willing to take the responsibility, take the team to work together with you to cope with the unprecedented and the major challenge. Thank you very much. Thank you.
工程顾问社的李俊毅董事长 ，Thank you once again to Chairperson 李俊毅 from Sinotech Engineering Consultants。那我们今天呢，也把握这个水论坛峰会非常难得可贵的机会，我们要来捕捉我们今天与会者大家一起齐聚一堂的画面哦。So we would like to take the opportunity today to capture a house photo of all the participants and guests of honor。我们的摄影师呢，会从舞台上面往下来拍摄，所以我们就邀请大家呢，我们接下来就看向我们舞台上的摄影镜头。So please look into the camera at the center of the stage and give us your most beautiful smile。也请大家呢露出您最美丽的笑容。有戴口罩的朋友们呢，也欢迎把口罩给取下来，来捕捉您的画面。So if you're wearing a mask, please do remove it for the photo shoot。好，大家请看我们的官方摄影师。So please look at our camera person in the center of the stage。Beautiful. One more. 好的，我们接下来我们的摄影师呢也会快速的分区来捕捉这个右手边跟左手边的画面，所以我们请右手边的来宾们呢看向我们的摄影师。好，接下来呢，这个中间也要来拍摄一下啊。今天我们的场地非常的广，然后与会者也非常的多，也非常感谢大家今天一起来共襄盛举我们国际水周的活动。那除了这个领袖论坛之外呢，下午当然也有分不同的主题来跟大家探讨这个关于水利、关于治水方面的议题。那都是以智慧流域 AI 领航来作为我们的主轴。同时也把握机会跟大家分享，跟大家报告一下我们其实今天下午呢也有3场不同主题的精彩论坛，包含水利的青年论坛，也有台湾跟荷兰的交流论坛，跟水务行业的数位发展。那么台湾跟荷兰的交流，其实从次长在担任署长的时候，其实就非常的热络。那我们今天在这个水论坛当中就继续延续下去，可以了吗？好，谢谢。谢谢我们的摄影团队 ，Thank you very much， 也谢谢各位。我们接下来呢，就进入到我们今天的第1场引言报告。我们第1场引言报告呢，有请水利署林元鹏署长来跟我们谈智慧流域 AI 领航。So we will now open with a keynote that will be given by Director General Lin Yuanpeng of the Water Resources Agency to talk about smart watershed AI-Driven Innovation。
I'm like Chairman Lin. I'm more used to coming here and standing here. Good morning, everyone. Welcome all. Such an honor to stand here in front of you. We have Mr. Kala from IWA and from our U.S. company, MD being a U.S. company, I think, and friends from AIT, from Germany, from Netherlands, and from Lithuania, Spain, Japan. and several countries here. So apologize if I miss any of you. And without stating each one, we also have a lot of distinguished guests here from the academia, from the private sector, from the unions and trade associations. Good morning, everyone. Such a great honor to see all of you under one roof. I am so honored to be here on behalf of WRA, the Water Resources Agency, to do an opening. Thank you all for taking part in this event. In Taiwan, we face several challenges shared by the world. This is mainly driven by extreme climate and climate change with a drastic impact on Taiwan. On this graph, the red means drought and blue refers to floods. Of course, there are also shared ones like in Brazil and China, where they are alternating droughts and floods. And we have seen such problems over the last few years aggravate. In addition, from natural disasters, we also face social problems, such as urbanization. In Taiwan, we have high density in many cities with concentrated industries. In Taiwan, we have a lot of high-tech, such as TSMC industries, and this is a very strong driving force of development in Taiwan. However, with these high-tech industries, there is very intensive use of water and electricity. We also face the problem of low birth rate and aging population. I believe Japan, Korea, and many other countries face a common problem like this. With low birth rate, there is also decreasing labor force. Also, in Taiwan, as we become more developed, the general public have growing demand of their living quality and the quality of public projects. We want to implement a lot of engineer projects. However, we also face challenges from NGOs and eco groups and who want to use more nature-based solutions. And of course, there's also the net zero transformation. Although Taiwan is very small, we face a lot of different kinds of disasters. Last month, we had the Barrier Lake disaster in Hualien, eastern Taiwan. It took me over a month to deal with this great disaster in Taiwan. This began from this cuts across several departments in the Taiwanese government, from the Department of Agriculture to WRA and several other departments. In terms of governance, this is something we need to examine. We need to do a lot of earthwork management and resilience improvement. As we face multifaceted disasters, and we need to find cross-disciplinary solutions. So this is the problems we face and the solutions that we must take. So in light of those three major problems, what are the main pillars of our solutions? First, we need to build a national level, cabinet level, cross-department system and agency. This way, we can have multi-pronged and effective solutions. Second, whether it is water supply or water management, we need to be more resilient. That is, we need higher adaptivity and resilience. Today, our topic is the introduction of AI. We hope through AI-driven techniques, we can integrate different knowledge systems to enable AI calculations. So first, we need to collect data, and then finally application. So the application is an added value for the various work that we are involved in. And I will talk about each of these in turn. First, in terms of our heterogeneous space, at the cabinet, we have formulated the Water and Sustainability Task Group, and this is convened by the Deputy Premier, the Vice Premier, who is at the national level head. And in an event like the Hualien Barrier event, this is not something that can be resolved by one individual department. There is the MOEA, there is earthquake management upstream, and also a lot of urban management, environment building. So through this national level cross-departmental task group, we can effectively implement various policies. So in the future, whether it is an event similar to the Hualien Barrier Lake or other challenges, this way we can align all the resources and effectively and quickly implement solutions. I think that's very critical. Second is, as I mentioned, improving resilience. In the public sector, 7 or 8 years ago, we began implementing a major national level policy, which is called the forward-looking policy. And we were able to achieve 2.37 million tons of water storage. That means that's 20% of our past use, an increase of 20%. Is that sufficient? In fact, in the future, with urbanization and industrial usage, we actually have growing water demand, and the public is less and less tolerant toward water shortage. So over the next 6 years, we plan to increase a further 1.33 million tons of water. In addition to our daily water use, we hope to have 20% of contingency capacity. Of course, that along with that, we need to do a lot of work. On the left, we have the Taiwan's map. So in the past, we have the 8+8 water sources and pipe networks. So now we have 10 of these networks and pipelines, and there are further 7 sets of networks. I really want to thank Deputy Minister Lai. When he was the Director General of WRA, he already started implementing this, linking across Taiwan like a pearl necklace, and linking these pearls that are different parts of Taiwan. Today, we will hear, we work together with Spain in desalination plants. And in Hsinchu and other cities, we also have other projects. We also have urban sewage treatment and reclaimed water plant for reuse. Of course, there are also artificial lakes and groundwater and water storage. All these are important sources. In our water resource management, we need to look at it in a comprehensive point of view, rather than just individual basins. We need to have systematic management and try to preserve the water within the land as much as possible by improving water-bearing capacity of the land, reduce flooding, accelerate drainage, and enhance disaster response. Of course, AI is critical in this effort as well. In the future, we want to build a lot of sensors, water level sensors and measurements through standardized format and public information. In the future, as we become AI-enabled and IT-enabled, we have some baselines and standard data for assessment. What is the goal of AI enabling? That is to enhance our decision making and our precision. So these are some past models using traditional physical models. In these traditional models, it may take 2 hours to run all the data and have the final results, and even half an hour, or at the fastest, half an hour. Using AI based on past statistics, we can have relatively precise and very fast results in 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So in disaster response, it is critical to have this kind of rapid response. We work very closely with the meteorology sector, and especially for long-term forecasts. For droughts, we require long-term stats. And so working together with the meteorology department, we can have more long-term and more accurate predictions. For example, for our water reservoirs. And we also need to calculate future rainfall, and we have our own forecasts. We combine the European, the US, and CTR meteorology data together to forecast and find the most accurate result to have added value averages. These are already in the work being used right now. With AI, the key is to quickly solve the problems. In the past, when we used the physical models, we need to look at the rainfall, build models, and etc. But now with AI, we can get the results much faster. There's also geological measurements for flood potential maps. We have more accurate territorial maps, and we can predict where floods will happen to have pumps and the flood prevention equipment deployed quickly using AI. In addition, from AI image identification, we can quickly identify where the flooded areas are. In management, we can improve the management of our water basins and our engineering projects using AI as a complementary technology. Okay, in conclusion, 3 quick conclusive points. How, as I mentioned, in Taiwan, we need to bring together different basins, and we are very devoted to international collaboration, and we'd like to share our response to disaster. So before the meeting, I had a chat with Mr. Kala and our professor from Germany, and we are more than delighted to share our experience. Finally, just some personal remarks. What exactly is AI? Narrowly speaking, it's artificial intelligence, learning from living organisms. However, you can also look at it from the technology side. And what role can AI play in water management? It's like in a family. Is money important in a family? Of course. But money cannot do everything. However, with money for a family, there are a lot of uses, and you can do very robust planning. So with AI and the technology, they play a similar role on water management and on hydraulic engineering. We have many experts from hydraulic engineering community to have a good project to complete a sound project. We cannot just rely on AI. There is long-term experience, insight, theory, and knowledge. However, with the assistance of AI, we can do things faster. It's a great tool to help us out. So I want to express my special thanks to those engineers who have devoted themselves to learning the traditional physical models and passing on their valuable experience. That said, AI is something we have to learn in today's society. Otherwise, we cannot move to a faster and more visionary future for Taiwan's hydraulic engineering future. So I'm very honored to have this chance to share with you some of my thoughts. With that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
署长, thank you once again to Director General Lin Yuanpeng of the Water Resources Agency. 接下来我们要进入今天的专题演讲哦。接下来的专题演讲呢，邀请到国际水协会的执行董事来跟我们分享 Intelligence in Motion: Building Resilient Systems for an Uncertain World。请跟我一起欢迎 I'd like to ask you to help me welcome Dr. Kalanithi Bhairaramurthy.
Thank you. Vice Minister Dr. Lai, my good friend, and distinguished guests, esteemed scholars as well who are in this room. It's really a great pleasure for me to be here. I'm always happy to come back to Taiwan. I've been here many, many times. So thank you very much, Dr. Lai, for the invitation. I come from the International Water Association. What I want to share with you is really some of the things that I'm seeing emerging within our sector. And the most interesting area that we're seeing at the moment is around generative AI, which is a little bit different from what was being presented earlier today. But what I'd like to start by saying is that it's important that we recognize one thing, and it's been touched upon by the other speakers, and that is our sector, the water sector, is under pressure from all sides. Climate change is driving more droughts, floods, and unpredictability. Rapid urbanization is straining our aging systems, already weakened by years of underinvestment. And new regulations and net zero targets are pushing us to do more with less and to do things in a much cleaner way. Now, these pressures are not going to go away. Instead, they're pushing us to do something bigger. They want us to transform our sector, to rethink the way in which we manage water, the way in which we use water, the way in which we value water. And this transformation is already underway, and I see it as I travel around the world. So water touches everything. According to the FAO, 70% of all of our fresh water is used in agriculture. And now with climate change, rainfall is less predictable, and so our food systems will become more fragile. According to the World Bank, nearly 90% of our electricity is water dependent. So again, climate change means water stress, and so without reliable water, there's a risk to our power security. And by 2050, it's predicted that 2.5 billion more people will live in cities, many in the developing world. And it's not just that these populations are growing. These populations are growing up. Their living standards are improving. So the rate at which they utilize water is also increasing. So on the one hand, the numbers are increasing, but the amounts of water they use are also increasing. And on the other hand, climate change is making water in many places less available. And so potentially in many countries, particularly in the urban context, we're seeing a huge supply-demand deficit emerging. And according to the WHO, 80% of disease in developing countries is still very much related to poor water supply and sanitation. And of course, this will also get worse with climate change. Now, this isn't just data, it's the foundation of why water touches everything and must be at the heart of every climate conversation. So water is vulnerable, but like all vital things that come under pressure, water's vulnerability shouldn't weaken it. On the contrary, it needs to strengthen it and drive innovation. And we're seeing this. huge transformations taking place everywhere around the world. We see a move to more circular approaches where we use water multiple times and where we recover value from our waste streams, and where we're seeing the use of much more sort of nature-based solutions, and also a move to more decentralization or distributed systems. We're beginning to move beyond viewing water just as a resource to thinking more about the productive use of water. What is it we want the water to do for us? And how can we match the quantity and the quality of water to that intended use? Do we need high quality water for everything? Of course, no. Drinking water must be pristine, but for flushing our toilets, for watering our landscapes, for industrial cooling, we can use different qualities of water. And this allows us to use water multiple times in a cascading way, hence maximizing its productivity. And water's role doesn't just stop with efficiency, it includes flood resilience too. Across cities, we're using nature to redesign landscapes with permeable surfaces, green buffers, and retention basins, and you saw some of that in the earlier presentation. So it's turning excess water into a managed resource. So water isn't just something to protect, it's what holds everything together. It keeps our climate stable, our food growing, our energy flowing, and our economies running. A great example of the productive use of water is the West Basin Initiative in Los Angeles, one of the most iconic demonstrations of adaptive reuse in practice. Now, this was developed in the 1990s to address water scarcity. And this system turns wastewater into multiple grades of water, what we call designer waters, or waters of different flavors. So you have one flavor for water for irrigation, another flavor for industrial cooling, another flavor for artificial aquifer recharge. And so what it does is it matches the quality of the water to the purpose. And so it maximizes the productivity of water. And as a result, it's able to reduce the overall water footprint. And what's interesting is that it has a modular plug-and-play design that allows flexible treatment trains that deliver water of different qualities in different quantities at any time. And that's really a hallmark of smart reuse. And what's important is that this flexibility isn't only technical, it's strategic. In an uncertain climate future where rainfall patterns are changing, the demand for water may be increasing, and regulations may shift unpredictably, this design gives operators the option to vary how much of these different flavors they produce at any one time in response to some of those changes. And they can pivot between treatment grades and end uses without having to rebuild the system. So this really shows the productive use of water, the power of that. And it allows us to reimagine wastewater, not as an endpoint, but as a source of flexibility and resilience. And it challenges the old assumption that more demand for water means that we have to take more water out of rivers and the ground. This type of approach sort of encourages us to look for efficiencies that are embedded inside the system, where we can start reusing, recycling, and harvesting. And so we create this sort of diverse portfolio of sources. And this idea that resilience comes from diversity and flexibility is being embraced by many cities as well. Now, Singapore and Chennai show really what's possible by turning diversification into a core principle of water security and climate resilience. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of the Singapore example, so I'm not going to go into that. But for me, the Chennai options, the portfolio of options in Chennai, which they call the Aru Kudums, which means the 6 pots, is really quite interesting. And this was developed in 2019 when they had a severe drought. And it involves 6 sources of supply. And they really went to extremes to look for water. And so an interesting part of this is they converted quarries into stormwater capture systems, and they use that water to recharge their groundwater through infiltration galleries. Now, of course, because this water comes from industrial sites, there are certain water quality challenges. And so they're looking at the use of natural systems to treat that water before they inject it into the ground. But both these cities have the same principle in action. Diversity creates resilience. When rainfall fails, or when demand peaks, or when regulation shifts, these systems can rebalance internally without failing. And this is what adaptability looks like in quantitative terms. Multiple interventions outperforming a single large one system. And these sort of multiple systems can flex, they can expand, and they can respond to context. And it's not only grey infrastructure. There's a huge interest now in nature-based solutions, especially as a climate adaptation tool. And they're already widely using water management, from source water control to urban drainage to flood control, etc. And in this slide, you can see how it's being used to close the water loop. Now, the public love these systems. People prefer green spaces rather than concrete around them. But for engineers, these systems really present challenges. They're often unpredictable. They experience seasonal variability. And generally, there isn't clear guidance on how to design these systems. And so we tend to use rules of thumb. And these systems have many benefits like biodiversity, cooling, and recreation. And these are all very real, but they're quite hard to monetize. And so we have challenges articulating their cost benefits. So while these systems will be the future, we need to better understand the science that underpins them and how we can better value them. In IWA, we've established recently a task force that's looking into that. But for me, one of the real potentials of nature-based solutions lies in how we design them, not as fixed installations, but as modular systems that can evolve over time. And what we're seeing in IWA, due to climate change and the need for adaptation, we're moving to more modular approaches. Even for wastewater treatment, for drinking water, we're moving towards more distributed systems. But these nature-based solutions, they have this ability, they're not fixed, and they can grow over time. And here you can see some of the building blocks for, say, stormwater drainage. Pervious pavements, green roofs, infiltration trenches. Each one of these systems can work on their own effectively, but the real value comes when they're connected, forming a distributed network. And they can manage stormwater, they can filter pollutants, they can recharge groundwater. Together, they create a living, layered system that works not with nature, but against it. And these modular systems are being embraced all over the world. In China, they call them sponge cities. In the US, they call them low-impact developments. In Europe, we call them blue-green systems. Different names for the same ideas. What we're doing is we're harnessing natural processes in modular ways to make cities more resilient, adaptable, and livable. As I said, the real strength of these systems is flexibility. We don't have to build everything at once. We can start small. A few green roofs, a retention pond, and we can test them, and we can learn from the results and expand them as we become more confident and as we get more data. This is adaptive infrastructure in practice, systems that can scale, pivot, and integrate as conditions change. Now, if you imagine that those options that I showed on the earlier slide are a briefcase of options represented by these dots. Now, at each stage of urbanization, we can open up this briefcase and we can select the right combinations of modules to fit the local conditions, like rainfall, topography, growth patterns. And as the rainfall trends shift or urban densities rise, we can adapt again, reconfiguring the modules, branching them in new directions, rather than being locked in a fixed trajectory. This approach allows us to design within an envelope of uncertainty, building in stages, testing at each step, and always leaving ourselves multiple paths forward. That's the beauty of modularity. It keeps your options open. And the data sort of reinforces this point. When you look at these systems from modeling studies, etc., they really show that they outperform our standard drainage systems, both in terms of things like stormwater management, but also pollution reduction, groundwater recharge. But more importantly, when we have different rainfall scenarios, these systems are much better at coping. Traditional systems fail when conditions deviate from design, whereas modular systems maintain consistent performance for a wide range of futures because they're flexible and they're adaptive and they can absorb shocks. So far, we've seen adaptability in the physical world, in pipes, wetlands, and reuse systems. But in our sector, there's another transformation that's emerging. And it's how we think of our physical systems through something else. It's through data. And generative AI, powered by large language models, is redefining how we understand and act on information across the water cycle. It represents a new kind of infrastructure, one that's not built of steel or concrete, but rather it's built on knowledge and connections. It's allowing us to talk with our data as naturally as I might talk to you. And that enables us to unlock insights that were once buried in system reports and silos. And that brings me to sort of a very important point that I think most utilities and water organizations know. And that is that we have a vast, unread library of knowledge. I work with a lot of utilities around the world, and they tend to have a lot of data. And if you think about that data as a vast library, it's a gold mine of insights. But most of these books are never read. They remain unread. You see, utilities have been collecting data for decades. Handwritten logs, SCADA history, contractor records, lab reports. Yet it seems that the more data we collect, the less we actually use it. For me, the problem with our sector is not data scarcity, it's data blindness. Imagine if we could open every book, connect every shelf, and let the library tell us its story. Today, utilities use a small fraction of the data they collect, around 15% on average. And this data that they use is mainly clean and structured. Flow readings, pressure readings, billing data. And it's this data that sort of fuels our operational dashboards, alerting us to immediate issues such as a sudden drop in water pressure or an unexpected billing anomaly. I mean, of course, this is useful, but it's reactive. It tells us what's already happened, not what's coming next. To anticipate rather than react, we need to draw on the remaining 85% of the data, the unstructured, messy human side of data. Because hidden in that 85% of data, the notes, the photos, the stories, are the clues to our future. So the other 85% of data is a graveyard of insights waiting to be revived. This isn't data that's useless. It's untapped intelligence waiting to be discovered. It holds handwritten maintenance logs, contractor records revealing workmanship issues, customer complaints about odors or taste, engineering emails about recurring faults. But buried inside are patterns, pipes that fail every rainy season, treatment units that underperform under heat stress. Generative AI can bring to the surface these patterns, linking cause and effect across different formats and time. Unlocking this 85% of data moves us from reactive maintenance to predictive and proactive management, from hindsight to foresight, from chasing problems to anticipating. So for me, the question is not how much data we have, but how connected is it? And AI helps us to join the dots. And what makes this connection possible is the capability that AI has, retrieval augmented generation. It allows AI to retrieve information from across all the different silos, reports, maintenance logs, emails, and reason over them in real time. Instead of searching one database at a time, RIG pulls together everything we already know and turns it into insights. It provides context and situational understanding. In a sense, it's how the system learns to read its own library, and it gives us the right answer just when we need it. So moving from data blindness to data brilliance isn't about collecting more. It's about connecting what we already have. Generative AI reads across all formats: numbers, notes, images, spoken observations, weaving them into a single living intelligence. They're really unleashing the potential of our untapped data by making complex analysis available to everyone. You see, gone are the days where a utility needs programmers to extract insights from the data. Today, human language is the programming language. And all of us, everyone in this room, we're empowered to be data analysts. Anyone can ask in any language, what are my biggest leakage risks? How has rainfall variability affected my water quality? Which assets fail most often after a heavy rain? 10 years ago, you would have needed a team of programmers to ask this question of your data. But today, anybody can do it. And anyone can get good, data-driven, evidence-based insights from it. So your domain experts, your operators, your planners, the field teams, they can all ask from these systems and learn. And then they can act directly. But there's one kind of data that sits beyond most systems, and that's the human kind, the lived experience of people who know the systems the best. Some of our most valuable knowledge isn't digital at all. It lives in people as memories, intuition, and experience. Think of a library, again, I love libraries, so that's why I'm using that as a metaphor. The books hold facts, but the librarians, they know which of the books are really the key ones. In our world, in the water sector, the librarian is the veteran pipe fitter who senses a leak before the sensors do, or the billing clerk who spots usage anomalies by instinct. This tacit knowledge, built over decades of observation, mentorship, and craft, rarely makes it into our databases. Generative AI can capture and learn from all of these things. It can transcribe interviews. It can read field notes. It can summarize operators' briefings. And it can turn human insights into searchable, shareable wisdom. The result is that the experience of today's experts become part of tomorrow's decision logic, embedding learning directly into the system. The cycle of learning no longer ends with experience. It actually grows stronger with it. And when systems learn from experience, even from mistakes, they move beyond resilience. They become capable of growth through stress. Something that I like to call anti-fragile. It comes from Naib. So this is kintsugi. It's the Japanese art of golden repair. When a ceramic piece breaks, its cracks are filled with gold, transforming the damage into design. the repaired object becomes more beautiful, not in spite of its fracture, but because of it. Kintsugi is more than art, it's a philosophy. It teaches us that stress and failure are not endpoints, they're opportunities for renewal. In our world, resilience means bouncing back. But in an anti-fragile world, it means learning and growing stronger through disturbance. Imagine if our water systems and the digital tools that manage them could do the same, where every flood, drought, or setback leaves behind a seam of learning that strengthens its next response. This is exactly how generative AI works. It doesn't just recover from errors, it learns through it. Each correction refines the model, turning friction into knowledge and adaptation into strength. In this way, AI embodies the spirit of Kintsugi, finding wisdom in imperfection and beauty in the process of repair. Nature has always known how to learn through change. So before we look at how AI strengthens our engineered systems, let's see how it helps us listen to and learn from and design with nature itself. Nature-based systems, wetlands, floodplains, etc., are inherently dynamic. They shift with the seasons, with rainfall and land use. That's what makes them powerful, but also that's what makes them very difficult to manage. For the first time, generative AI gives us the capacity to truly understand and converse with that complexity. It builds bridges between people, nature, and data, allowing us to see patterns, interpret change, and help living systems learn and grow stronger through it. For nature-based systems, generative AI can finally bring every lens on the landscape into one coherent view, integrating ecological data, sensor readings, field notes, community observations, all into one system. It can interpret change, connecting rainfall, vegetation, and land use patterns to show us how ecosystems respond under pressure. It can connect human and machine sensing, aligning what satellites see with what people on the ground notice and feel, creating a living feedback loop between nature and decision makers. In this way, generative AI doesn't replace ecological intelligence, it amplifies it. It allows us to truly talk with nature, to build systems that listen, learn, and grow stronger through change. That's the essence of anti-fragility. Not resisting disturbance, but using it to evolve. What we learn from nature, that ability to sense, adapt, and evolve, we can also bring to our engineered systems. Because intelligence in water isn't about just about understanding ecosystems. It's also about how we manage the pipes, the pumps, the treatment plants that keep our cities alive. Projects like the West Basin Initiative and Chennai's Aru Kudam portfolio already show us physical adaptability. But now with generative AI, we're adding another layer, intelligence in motion. The future of resilience is not about building systems that resist change. It's about building systems that learn from it. So when we look at generative AI and water reuse, for example, for the first time, we can unify complexity in real time, connecting water quality, energy, weather, and demand data across the entire reuse portfolio. We can simulate and stress test dynamically, exploring what-if drought or demand scenarios before they happen. We can augment foresight, combining sensor signals with operators' insights and local context to create a living picture of system behaviors as conditions shift. We can learn through disturbance, turning every fluctuation, every drought or system upset into intelligence that strengthens the next response. Our future systems won't just bounce back. They'll grow stronger with every challenge. That's the essence of intelligent resilience. Water systems that think, learn, and adapt in motion. So where does this leave us? I began with a world under pressure, rising demand, aging assets, and climate in constant motion. We've seen that uncertainty isn't a passing storm. It's the weather that we currently live in. Through adaptation, circular systems, nature-based systems, and now generative AI, we're learning that resilience isn't about bouncing back, but it's about bouncing forward. It's about learning through stress and growing stronger with every challenge. Now, I always finish with this slide. And if you look at these three lanes, right, the first lane, the business as usual lane, we can't stay in that lane. With all the global change pressures we're facing, we can't use the same tools, the same thinking, and hope that we'll get different results. That's not our option. But most utilities are in the middle lane. They're tinkering. They're trying to sort of repurpose their existing infrastructure. They're trying to use the same models and patch where they can. They're failing. And that's where the most utilities are. But for me, it's the third lane, the paradigm shift. That's where the real journey begins. In that lane, we don't just build stronger systems, we build smarter ones. We connect human experience, natural intelligence, and digital insights into one living network that learns through every challenge. And here's the remarkable thing. It's the innovators in the developing countries, in the global south, who are really driving a lot of this innovation. They're already in that lane. They're reimagining water. They're proving that transformation is possible. And they're turning necessity into invention. They are really showing us how the future looks, and I see this on my travels. And it's not just resilience that the future looks at. It's intelligence in motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Veeramurthy. Resilience isn't about bouncing back, but about bouncing forward. Thank you for your insights. 非常谢谢我们讲师精彩的分享。我们接下来呢是15分钟的休息跟交流时间，所以请各位在11:05之前，我们回到会场来进行座谈交流。With that, we will take a 15-minute break. Please be back at 11:05 for our panel discussion. 谢谢各位。 现场，我们接下来要进行的环节是今天大家非常期待的综合座谈，来跟大家探讨的主题是智慧流域 AI 领航。So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We will now proceed with the panel discussion on smart watershed and AI-driven innovation. 那么这个场次呢，我们将会由经济部的赖建信次长来担任主持人。So this session will be moderated by Vice Minister 赖建信 of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. 他同时呢，我们的与谈人包含了以下的3位来宾，首先是Dr. Veeramurthy 以及我们的沈梦如校长，还有林建成副总经理。And the panelists include Dr. Kalanithi Veeramurthy and also President 沈梦如 and also Mr. Ken Lit。我们请大家一起以掌声来欢迎我们的主持人还有与谈人到舞台上来就座。So please join me to give a warm welcome to our panel. 谢谢，我们接下来就将时间交给次长。Let me give the floor to our moderator.
Good morning, everybody. This is my first time to be a moderator. To be a moderator is less attention to be speakers. And first of all, I will thank the outstanding leadership of the Director General Lin. He led the team of the WRA to keep on the right track. And he also paid full attention and do his best to make Taiwan, the environment of the water, getting better and better. This morning, we have a wonderful chance to invite Dr. Carla. Dr. Carla is one of my best friends. We know each other 9 years ago in Netherlands. At that time, I joined Netherlands Water Forum. And I got the chance to talk with Dr. Carla to talk about how we struggled to reduce the impact of climate change. And I'm pleased that Carla can attend our forum every year. And Carla is also outstanding scholar. He did the IWA for 4 years. And he also serve in the national organizations such as the United Nations and the Asia Bank in charge of the wonderful programs of the waters. And we are the second guest. We are honored to invite the chairman of the Ching Kung University, 沈梦如校长。沈校长他是一个
Dr. Chen is a very famous physician. He leads the National Cheng Kung University, and also to take the university's social responsibility. He really valued that. Today's primary theme is under AI. Today, on top of the President Shen, we also invite the AMD's Vice President Ken Lin from AMD. Why we especially invite the President Shen and AMD this year for this forum? Because last year at the same time, because last year the AI development here in Taiwan was very fast, rapid. I was thinking how to utilize the soft strengths here in Taiwan. Even we can establish a so-called Taiwan's Computing Center to enhance our water management knowledge. So I especially to invite President Shen, and he really actively invited renowned the AI company like AMD around the world to invest here in Taiwan. And at the same time, we were thinking that perhaps we can apply our manufacturing and the computing power here in Taiwan to establish this the center. Today, this is a very unusual opportunity to invite 3 experts to join today's forum. And so later on, I'm going to start from President Shen, and I hope that President Shen can bring us some insight with regard to how to apply AI or water management or to cope with the climate change. And then secondly, I would like to invite AMD's Vice President Ken Lin from the industry's perspective here. Taiwan already have a very good, excellent manufacturing capacity with regard to our research and development, how we can apply the AI. Last but not least, I would like to invite Dr. Kala. Dr. Kalaniti, during his presentation, he mentioned that about 85% of the information is something that we are not very familiar or clear. Perhaps we can utilize his experience and knowledge, including the technology capacity to enhance that. So once again, let's give a round of applause to welcome 3 panelists. First of all, I would like to ask President Chen. So from your perspective, with regard to the climate change, what is the impact to the environment, and especially with regard to the water or your expertise in your sector? How do you think about, perhaps, or what kind of issues we need to focus in the future? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lai, for your introduction. I just came from airport, and I asked Google how long it will take. He said not very long, maybe more than 1 hour. But I thought that Google's calculation is based on the traffic. Google didn't consider the weather, the raining, so it took me longer than that, more than 1 hour. I want to say is that nowadays, as you know, that with regard to the drastic change of climate change, is already beyond the imagination of the technology we have today. So when we face the future, looking forward, especially the natural disaster, those risks, I think probably we need to apply data-driven resilience. So with that, we need to link to nature diversity, water resources, and public health. With that, we have some chance. I want to give you 2 examples. So So should I continue? We didn't rehearsal, okay? So first of all, especially, so we are in the southern Taiwan. We have encountered several typhoons, so I was very impressed. So my expertise is not water resource, but as a citizen, I want to say something about that. First of all, like in the past 2024 and 2025, and 2025, I remember there are 2 or 3 major typhoons. 2025, as you know, last month we have a major typhoon. All the data are not from the past, like 2024. In July, we have 1 typhoon, and then October we have 2 typhoons. So the one in July. So within 24 hours, the precipitation is 500 millimeters. That is within 1 day. It has about 0.5 meters of water in Jianan terrain. In October, there were 2 typhoons. Then we normally don't have typhoon. Most of them ended in September. For last year, 2024, we have 2 major typhoons in October. So it left the one thing very important. First of all, the first one, the diameter, the radius is about 320 kilometers. So you can see it covered the entire Taiwan. So in 2025, as you know, that in September, the typhoon in September, the speed is about 191 kilometers per hour. So you can imagine how drastic is it. The one last thing is that the Barrier Lake, the landslide dam in Mataian, and so you know the water volume is about 6,000 Olympic pools within half hour, within 30 minutes, to pull over the area. So from the residents, but however, from the healthcare perspective, the impact is that. Give you 2 examples. Water, our life came from water. When we have water, we have life. So when we look at the water resource, it provides the utility for the daily life as well as all the agricultural irrigation, especially in Jianan terrain. We need the water. We have a Southern Science and Technology Park. We have industrial water. So water resources there are 3 applications. Typhoon is something positive, so it supplements the water as a basic science perspective. We need typhoon because it brings water and supplement water. However, if it transforms from the resource provider to a weapon, then it's something different. So now you can see this emerging, the pandemic and the natural disaster are not the norms. So it is complicated, so compound the impact. So the risk is that for overall, comprehensive. So for all the compound disaster, for every compound disaster, it damages the whole community, especially the infrastructures. So overall consequence is that it is the public health for the nations will collapse. So then I'll give you 2 practical examples, like Mataian, the Barrier Lake, the landslide dam. The water is not clear, but rather than mud. It's a very heavy contamination. Contaminated sludge is from the medical perspective. Like Professor Luo said, well, the sludge are anaerobic, the bacteria full of anaerobic bacteria for the restructuring or mitigations, and the residues. So if you are hurt, then it will be very serious infections, even lethal. So after 48 hours, you see some the mortalities. So the second is so-called acute stage. During the acute stage, there are the healthcare risks, and for long term, those that came from the mountain. Up at 2,000, 3,000 meter height. So when it came down, it changed the structure, and you need the long-term restructuring. So that's one thing. Another, by the typhoon from southern part in September, it caused a lot of poor casualties or poors and casualties. So it generates waterborne diseases. That's in healthcare. It will be very horrible. So when we face the future, So we cannot stop it. We cannot prevent it. But what we can do is to use scientific or professional database-driven computing to reduce the disasters, to become more resilient. So this is my personal opinion. First of all, there are three elements of AI. ABC, you need computing, but you need logarithm and big data. So we need big data and also need continuously to collect big data, including environment, including water, including weather, including local microbiome the monitors. For example, the WRI Water Resource Agency, I know we have more than 7,000 CCTV monitors. So in the past, we have real-time image. The data is too huge. We should transform from cloud computing to edge computing. Then the data will be more concise and 24 hours, 24/7 computing, including the microbiomes surveillance in the area. You will know the transition and the change. Then once we have the data, then we can have the logarithm. Here in Taiwan, we have many logarithms. I believe we can establish. We have computing and water resource experts to utilize that computing to make some prediction or mitigation or follow-up response with those kinds of the disaster management mechanisms. So, but something inevitable is we need to seek for the comment of the local residents and the local farmers, because what the machine or the calculation does not truly reflect the real world. So if you want to make it work, you need to ask the comment, especially from the local farmers, local fishermen, or local the nursery farm like AMD is such a huge multinational company. They can provide very excellent computing. But so to cope with the future disaster, I think if we want to deal with the nature disaster under public base and water resource, we need to apply a data-driven liaison. So we don't have other alternative. The data-driven resilience is not an option. It is something inevitable, something we must go. So the summary is that the storm is coming, but our data scientists are ready. This is my comment to the question from Mr. Lai, the Deputy Minister. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Shen, to give us the insight comment on top of the AI development, the three major elements of AI development. Dr. Shen mentioned that this is for the emerging pollutants or infectious diseases. In the past, when we deal with water management, we seldom touch that areas. I used to learn from Dr. Shen that why we have so many so-called emerging infectious disease. So because some of the microbiomes, or they are in from old history soils, when the soil collapsed, it came to the new environment. So it ended up impact to the society. So with that, I also want to echo all the participants. We have QR code here. If you have comment or questions, please feel free to raise your question on the line. Second is to the Ken Lin from AMD, especially from renowned AI driver or advocator or producer from the industry sector. How do you think about the application of AI in the water resources from your personal experience or global trend? Are there any opportunity here? As President Lin said about three elements from your perspective as an industry. So how the country or the people can provide a good AI development environment. Thank you very much, Mr. Lai, Deputy Minister Lai. As President mentioned, since AMD is a chip provider, we basically provide the computing power. So with regard to the water management and water resource management, we have many experts here. With AMD in the past, we have a meeting with President Shen, talk about how AMD can serve, provide a computing platform to when you conduct your research and development, you can have a better, more accurate and fast computing power. For the past several decades, with regard to the hydrometeorology study and the development, it used to build on top of the CPU for the HPC system under CPU construction. Actually, the whole ecology is rather very comprehensive. Earlier we talked about in the future the generative AI. What it can help us is very significant with regard to the hydrometeorology study. So here, with us from AMD's perspective, I think we have a few comments. First of all, for the overall computing part, perhaps from early days in CPU, we will gradually add GPU, as the President mentioned about here in Taiwan, we have more than 7,000 CCTV. So all the image can be start from local to embedded device or NVIDIA to do a local AI process. First of all, the information will be better. Secondly, you don't need to transmit to the cloud. And so because the data amount is so huge, so with that, I would like to propose one point that is a multi-level computing structure. So with that, the multi-level computing frameworks, first of all, it will go through CPUs, centralized super computing system to conduct a large-scale simulation. Secondly, with regard to the edge computing, use BGA or embedded device on that extreme to conduct immediate live response and process. And also through AI system, we can enhance the speed of prediction. To make it long story short, with HPC, we can conduct scientific research and prediction. Basically, what we need is accuracy. I think AI is a prediction. We can apply prediction and simulation, but the original HPC computing is to validate the scientific advancement. So on top of the end-to-end surveillance and feedback to construct a so-called the comprehensive computing solution. So I think in the future, the AMD will utilize our current A+ project. So here we work together with the academic sector as well as the government and the National Cheng Kung University to provide CPU, GPU, FPGA, and the embedded device to provide more computing power. So with our hydrometeorology study, can utilize a more adequate and a more fast, speedy study to reach the target of the research.
Thank you for that, Ken. Now I would like to ask Dr. Carla.
Previous speaking, you give us a concept about that there are around 85% of the data that we are not known by them. You usually tend to test data. But you also mentioned about that the generative AI can bring us a lot of applications. And by the meantime, the human being can use their experience and some of the knowledge and the expertise of them to increase the capacity of acquire the data. I have two questions goes to you. One of the question is that by a scholar or the individuals, when we live in a world that trends to AI, step into the AI, most of the public, they are anxious about that the computer can do everything. Why do we need to rely on our experience? And how the students goes to when they will be freshmen in the university, they how can deal with such kind of dilemmas. And the second question goes to you is that, according to your experience, what is the major challenge for the government or the public can grab the chance of the generative AI?
Thank you very much, Dr. Lai. So in my presentation, I talked a lot about generative AI, and I think the Director General, when he presented, he was talking a lot about the shift from mechanistic models to more sort of data-driven models, which is another area that we see a lot of developments. I think what's really interesting with generative AI is that when you use it to do things that you could do yourself, but you just don't have the time, then it's a very powerful tool. So when I look at the data that a lot of utilities have, they collected that data with the intention of analyzing that data. You know, they really wanted to collect the data and then to do the analysis. But they never got round to doing it. You know, they left it, and because they were firefighting, that data just started to accumulate. What we're finding is that if you put that data into a generative AI, so you know it's trusted, you know it's your material, and you ask it to interrogate that information that's there, it's a very powerful tool, right? And the beauty about generative AI, and we're using it quite a lot now in IWA, is its ability to work across formats. So you can have sort of let me just take this off because I'm getting some interference. You get some highly structured data that it's very useful for, but we're now putting into the generative AI information from our webinars, from interviews with people, and we're just mixing these different formats, and we're able to ask it questions, and it does really give us good insights, but it's those questions that are critical, right? So you need an expert to craft the questions and provide the right context for it to give you what you want. Where we see challenges with it is where people go beyond the domain of the information that they've put in and they go outside, then the AI starts to hallucinate. It starts to make things up. It's quite dangerous. So if you just ask it and say, can you tell me about something, it can give you information that's useful, but it can also give you information that's not very useful and could be quite dangerous. So what we're finding is that when people put their own information in, right, information that they've peer-reviewed, they've quality assured, and they trust, and you only ask it to analyze that information, then it becomes a very, very powerful tool. So within IWA, for example, we publish a lot of academic journals. We publish magazine articles, right? We have a lot of PowerPoint presentations from conferences. We run a lot of webinars. We interview people. What we're finding is that when we put all of that information into our database, and I want to share with a company, a corporate company, what is the most interesting things happening in, say, anaerobic digestion, let's say, or leakage management. The generative AI can go to our magazine, it can go to the most recent presentations that we've had, but it can also go to some very high quality academic journals, pick up all the material, start to correlate it, and then we can say that the person that we want to communicate with is not, a technical expert. So it will then sort of collect that information and draft it in a way that is palatable to that person. If we want to share it with an esteemed professor, then it would rely more on our academic journals rather than, say, the publications that we have. But you see, these are all things that I can do myself, but it takes me several months to do it. But with the generative AI, we can do it very, very rapidly. So what I would say is that it's a very powerful tool when you are feeding it with information and you don't ask it to go outside the information that you provided it. Now, I work a lot with water utilities, right? And we've recently been working with many utilities in South Asia and in Africa, in East Africa. And they have got vaults of information which they've collected, right? And they've now fed this information into a generative AI with hardly any work. And now they're able to see patterns that they could never find. So for example, we were looking at pipe condition, which pipes in the network were failing. And when they were using mechanistic models, models based on the law of physics, they would use things like the age of the pipe, the material of the pipe, the traffic loading, and the soil conditions. But when we put in the data that they had data about the contractors that they used to lay these pipes. They had information about the pipe materials that we used. And what we found was that there were certain areas of the network which were failing because the contractor who they had employed was not doing high quality work. But the mechanistic model would never have been able to predict that. So it's this ability to cross formats. It's this ability to provide context from lots of different sources that we could never do with our traditional models. I mean, I'm a modeler. My background is modeling, mainly mechanistic models. We could never do these types of things. So it's very powerful. The thing that I would be very cautious about is if you use generative AI and you expect it to just tell you anything, it's very dangerous. And I found certain utility experts have asked generative AI to give them advice on conducting a leakage reduction program. What are the steps I should follow? How should I phase in a leakage reduction program? Now, that particular person technically didn't know anything about leakage reduction. And so they were not able to interpret the results that the generative AI was giving them. And there, it's dangerous, So I would sort of summarize by saying, if you use it to do things that you can do yourself, but you just don't have the time, then it's a very powerful thing because you will craft the questions that you ask it. You will evaluate the responses it gives you. You will iterate several times with it. And you can finally refine and get some very, very powerful insights. That, for me, is really the key. And there's this whole space of prompt engineering. How do you write these prompts? How do you provide that context? In IWA, we're doing quite a lot of thinking in that space.
接下来我再请教一下我们沈校长。
A question for Mr. Shen, Dr. Shen. In the morning from Carla's presentation, there was an idea that is related to the emerging communicable disease. That's what we talked about less in the past. Usually we talk about disaster response and water management. So perhaps you can touch more on the healthcare side. And also, Dr. Carla talked about Gen AI when we want to, out of the results, to apply it, but without systemic thinking and cross-disciplinary collaboration, it could be dangerous. So as the president of a comprehensive university, for our future generation, in addition to the classical knowledge base, and to have systematic thinking and cross-disciplinary learning, how important are those? Thank you for that. I think regional crises demand regional solution. You need to solve your own problem and save your own country because every place has a context-oriented disaster, different sources, different contexts. You cannot rely on other people's algorithms to apply on your own context. That is the typical danger of AI. It needs to be regionally based and based on the scenarios and the data generated in your own country. Only algorithms based on that are applicable. So that's why I say regional crisis demand regional solution. So you need to save your own country. The reason I say this is because, for example, the typhoon that happened in southern Taiwan, you cannot imagine the scale of the wind and the rainfall. In the past, after the rainfall, usually the temperature cools down, but now it's different. You have this grand storm and all the trees falling down. The Ministry of Environmental Affairs quickly clean up the barks, the big trees, but the leaves are all over the place. Using Tainan in southern Taiwan as an example, after the storm, there were minor rainfall, and then all of a sudden the temperature turns very hot. In the past, it's different, but now we have very high temperature following the storm, and then you end up with a lot of mosquitoes laying eggs, and then that brings dengue or different diseases. All these leaves and branches clog the trenches and the gutters, and the water from the rainfall is clean, and it's very easy for all the mosquitoes to lay eggs. So they can just live very well outside rather than moving into people's homes. So you end up with these puddles of clean water on the roads, and the mosquito laying eggs and propagating. In the past, all our monitoring is in ponds and in domestic flower pots, but we never do it in these little puddles that are just on road surfaces. So we end up with an epidemic of mosquitoes and then spreading vectors, these disease vectors. So this is not something that would happen in other regions. That's why I say it's context-based. In the university, we need to prepare the faculty and students for the future. We can do very well in interdisciplinary collaboration. For example, at NCKU, we have 9 academies. We have 9 colleges. With any major issue, we can research it across the 9 colleges. In Taiwan, we are putting too much emphasis on the chips, on semiconductor. As the head of a university, I think the basis of engineering is civil, environmental, and survey engineering. These are the basic sciences required to manage a country sustainably. In order for the students to apply resilient management, they need to complement their AI capability with all these basic sciences. At our school, we may not be able to prevent these problems, but with this public health disasters, we can introduce all these ideas into the university, and that's the responsibility we see in ourselves, and we hope that you will help us in this regard. Thank you so much for that encouragement. In a lot of universities, whether it is engineering or electronics faculties, and they are all swarming toward AI, with basic sciences, including what you're talking about, the civil, hydraulic, and environmental engineering. As you mentioned, these are core capabilities for our country. So please listen to Dr. Shen. There are still opportunities in these schools. My next question is for Ken.
In the audience, there are some questions relevant to the issue that the President also mentioned about the cross-disciplinary capacity. As we know, the AI computing need to combine the data, the model, and the computing power. Based on your expertise or from the industry's perspective, or today maybe is from a multinational organization's perspective, I mean, how and what kind of, I mean, are there any better collaboration you will consider that can help the AI to have a better support, including the system establishments? Okay, thank you, Deputy Minister. Looks like your question is different from what I prepared. Okay, then. So, thanks to the questions from the audience, I think at the moment, with regard to such water management, I mean, perhaps in the future we need to utilize AI. However, not only for computing power, but for the data collection as well as algorithm and the management approach are changing all the time. I would like to raise three directions. First of all, that is to say, we will start from data collection and transform into so-called the AI-driven watershed management. In the past, we just calculate the speed, flow rate, as well as precipitation rate. And in the future, we will combine to the smart or the digital algorithm to apply a virtual simulation. With that, it can truly reflect the real world and then simulate the future. With that, we need AI support, the sensors, satellite measurements, as well as high-resolution models, and use real-world data to calibrate the data. Then the decision maker can transform from the passive action to the active prediction. That is so-called the watershed and the digital twins, as you mentioned. But in the past, the prediction is always use a physical model and a formula. And in the future, we need to use, we must use AI to support the prediction. I believe AI, one point is that on top of the simulate the prediction, it can also identify the potential model from the legacy from the past data, from prediction to preparation. So in the future, the model will be more and more AI-oriented plus physical. The formula is to form a hybrid model. With that, AI can provide more faster prediction, and so for whole the physical model will sustain the scientific approach. So AI can create a more precise, accurate data. Then when you scale up the model, your accuracy will be higher. However, the physical formula still can reach so-called the scientific approach to validate the AI prediction, whether it is reasonable. To reach that level, the AI assisted prediction. One thing very important is you need a better computing framework. Like I said earlier, in the past we are CPU-oriented. Now we are gradually incorporate GPU. GPU have done two things. One is a high-speed computing GPU. The other one is recently we utilize AI to compute GPU, and the other one is incorporate MPGA or CA embedded devices for computing. So in the future, I think for such computing, including CPU, GPU, MPGA, and MPU, plus our computing system in either HPC or AI system, that is very critical. So here I would like to take this opportunity to mention that in the past, when we talk about AI application, including in the water research, one is a high-speed computing through the 3W center, digital W water center. Some of them are just computing. Some of the academic center, including especially for students, they are trying to do some AI project, but they don't have a computing power. They don't have a device. This year, we have promoted so-called the AI PC product. So one thing very unique is that with regard to the AI model, they can utilize so-called basically there's a very high speed computing and high memory chip to do like over 120 B model computing. A year ago, you only can have 8 B or 10 B model computing, but now when your models capacity is larger and larger with more data, the AI accuracy is higher. So for such a device, for the advanced premium one is more than 80,000 or 90,000. Average notebook and the PC is about 30,000 to 40,000. For students, if they want to conduct a small-scale AI project, then you only when you have hundreds of $1,000 budget, you can do that. I want to highlight that in the past, our science and research budget is over millions of dollars, but this project is a national level. As the president mentioned, if you want to teach the students we need to give them an affordable device so they can utilize such computing framework to conduct their research to educate the next generation experts. That's my comment. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lin can provide us affordable hardware for the public can apply the AI for their daily life and for their research. And finally, I will ask Dr. Carla, could you please give us a schedule of the future vision of the AI? How do the AI can management the waters by the end of the 2035?
That's a difficult one, but I would definitely say that, I think that the challenge we have within the water sector, and I'm not trying to divert the question, but is that we now have really quite a lot of sophisticated tools that's going to help us manage our systems. But the problem is that our institutions are still very fragmented, right? And, when you look at, say, integrated water resource management or managing rivers, we have the tools now to really manage these water bodies very effectively, but the governance structures are failing. Water doesn't respect political boundaries, but very often our water catchments are based on political boundaries and not on their natural boundaries. And so we still have transboundary issues. We still have people not managing their water supplies, their water bodies in a very good way, particularly if they're upstream. They don't care too much about the people downstream. So I see that we're going to get more and more sophisticated in what we can do, but how well we will implement those things, I'm not sure. Now, what I'm seeing in the water sector moving forward is that because of climate change, we are changing the way in which we manage our water systems, right? We're moving much more to circular approaches. We are having challenges with water scarcity, so we're looking at the productive use of water. And within IWA, we see digital innovation as something that's enabling us to do these things which are good, right? It's an enabler. It's not the end. It's a means to getting to the end. Now, when I look at our digital program, what we're seeing is a lot of innovations in sensors. They're getting faster, they're becoming cheaper, and we're putting them in a lot more places, right? And we can measure more things now than we could. So we're generating large amounts of data now, right? The volume of data is increasing, and the velocity in which we're measuring these things is also increasing. Because we've shifted to AI, and I would say, and here I'm talking more about machine learning, we're able to process now these large amounts of data. And as I said this morning, historically we only use 15% of our data. But now, because of the advancements in machine learning and the move to data-driven models, we're able to utilize a lot of this data and start processing it. What we're also seeing is that our devices, our pumps and our valves are becoming more sophisticated. They are themselves having onboard computers on them. And so what we're seeing is a silent running system. You know, the sensors are collecting the information, they're feeding it to a model, machine learning model. That model is then generating instructions and it's communicating directly with a smart device that then can regulate itself. And then that gets picked up by the sensors. So you've got this sort of cycle. And human intervention is becoming minimalized. On top of that, you've got generative AI, right? That means that everybody's a programmer. You know, anybody can ask questions and get answers now, whereas before you'd have groups of programmers sitting in the room. So in a way, the ingredients for a highly sophisticated water management process exists. And I think the future will be that. And I think that we will be able to respond to some of the global change pressures we've had using this technology. But if we don't get the governance right, it's always going to create problems. You know, most of our institutional landscape is highly fragmented. You know, we know that we need to have systems thinking, right? We know, for example, that a big city should be like a sister or brother to the agricultural sector, because a lot of wastewater is generated, it's nutrient rich, the agricultural sector can use it. We know that, you know, industry can use a lot of water that we generate. We know that a lot of the water that we treat can go back into the environment and replenish the environment. But these institutions are managed by different people, and it's political, right? And they are very territorial and they protect their base. And so you don't get the exchange or the flow of information going between these institutions. So you sort of collect all this data, you make decisions, but then you hit this wall, which is the boundary of your domain. And until we have this helicopter view and see that what we're dealing with, you know, water is a system of systems of systems, right? You know, that's the reality. And there are lots of unintended consequences. If I do something, it has some sort of unintended consequence somewhere else. So unless we get that governance right, I think that we're never going to maximize the benefits of this digital innovation. But to answer your question, by 2035, I think most of our water utilities will be running with very few staff. It will be a silent running system. And, you know, I'm not sure, and you're already seeing it in countries like Singapore, they're preparing for the fact that they're not going to get an inflow of young people coming in to the water sector. And that's what I see as the future moving forward.
The same question goes to Dr. Shen. This morning, during the remark by Lee, Mr. Lee talked about the leadership from the national governance as well as in the corporate. He has some thoughts. So, Dr. Shen, could you take the perspective of the president of a national university in the next decade in the field of water or the whole society? What kind of transformation we will move to? I mean, could you give us some blue map? Well, I was a physician in the past. I was sitting in a clinic to see the patients, and after I became president of the university, we have many national projects. We also go to the society. especially so everything we done. So the university we emphasize innovations, but you need to implement take a social responsibility. Otherwise, you will be in the ivory tower. So in Southern terrain, I was very impressed, especially when I served as a president. As you know, water is the source for everything. When we talk about the water, now it's for the industry, from the society, and the agriculture. You need a balance. So in the southern part, you know, so we have built the water dam, Wushan, Zhenwen, and Nanhua. It was very excellent, beautiful. It was a very good place for the vacations. But nobody knows those water need to supply the whole industry in the Southern Science and Technology Park. These three elements, like the agricultural industry as well as residential utility, there's no criteria as a physician, especially I'm in oncology. So we need a guideline. We need a criteria. This is not something you set up. You said it is an international convention. So every society need to do the same thing for oncology. So this is a universal standard. But I thought. So such an important water governance issues. There's no standard. What is the proportion to the agriculture and the proportion to the industry? As I say, 2024 and 2025, we have too much water. But back in 2021, we don't have enough water. How do you allocate those waters? And in the end, I found out there are no criteria by the government. But now it is the industry who dominated the water, and then agriculture is sacrificed. But it's an ecosystem. Who plant the seed, who plow the land, who irrigate the water. If you break the ecology, then you will be in trouble. Like I say, we need to save our own country, so we need to accumulate or collect data. With data, you can make a right decision, and it will not be so political, not so academic, and then become a real world data to the whole world. So if you ask me, in the future, we need to have a real time to integrate the data and have an expert to conduct expert review, and we need to have real world feedback. Then the city or the nation can be sustainable. Thank you very much. Okay, I really appreciate three panelists giving us excellent insights, and so including Ken Ling's talk about from an AI technology provider. So with regard to the water field, like Dr. Kalaniti also mentioned that perhaps in the future there are more sensors and more data, big data. With that, we hope there are more data integration as well as machine learning to provide us, like the president mentioned about the cross-disciplinary learning and collaboration. As Dr. Shen mentioned, with regard to the water governance, perhaps we need to have a more, as this morning, Director General Lin talked about the administrative governance. This is also the direction of Water Resource Agency. Dr. Kalaniti, as well as Mr. Ken Lin and Dr. Shen, all mentioned the same thing as Director General Lin mentioned, the same. We are very happy that from the role of Ministry of Economic, that our policy can predict that, including the experts, we have. I'm very happy to see that we have more consensus. Once again, thank you very much for your participation. We hope that in the future we can have a better water resource environment. So we hope all can have a good health. Thank you very much.
我们几位语坛人，我们最后请各位来宾一起起身，我们往中间靠近，共同合影一张。So last but not least, I'd like to invite the panel for a photograph. 我们为今天的论坛留下很珍贵的画面，也非常谢谢我们所有的语坛人，不吝分享，也谢谢今天与会来宾所提问的问题，让我们有非常深入的交流跟对话。So thank you once again to all of the participants for your questions and also for your input. It was definitely a great opportunity for exchange and also possible collaboration going forward. 好，我们再一次以掌声来谢谢我们的主持人、司长还有语坛人。今天我们上午的论坛到此圆满落幕，再一次谢谢各位今天的与会。提醒大家，我们今天下午同一个楼层还有3场精彩的论坛，701E 是水利清廉论坛，701F 台河交流论坛，701G 水务行业的数位发展。午餐的餐盒，请各位在701A 还有701B 的出口外领取。用餐后也请记得将我们的餐盒放到